Hey everyone, it's Sunday night and we are back. That's right, you're watching the after show for Showtime's The Chi. We're discussing episode 7 tonight, The Whistle, so stay tuned.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AFTERBUZZ TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
We used to roll at the rink. We used to roll at the rink.
They used to what?
Roll at the rink.
I used to talk way too much. You used to know
That's
everything.
it. You chose this one.
I love this song.
She did it.
Chance, I love you.
Love the roller rink.
said
We love
I'm
Chance the
steady
Rapper.
playing.
We love it all.
Steady playing too.
Hey everyone,
The big
Veronica
brother
Barriga
folk
here.
one.
Oh,
places to
yeah, the slow jam. Work it out, work it out.
Place,
I
but
love
the
it.
best place in town.
Hey guys, Veronica Barriga here. You guys can catch me on social media at Veronica B Online. And next to me is lovely Drew.
What's up, guys? It's Drew Jones. You can follow me on all the things at OKDrewJ. Shout out to Francelli and Dominique. We miss you guys tonight.
Miss you ladies. But they will be back next week, so
Yes.
no worries. We got a lot to talk about tonight.
So much.
Great episode, right?
Wow. Just, this was the one written by Lena, right?
Yes.
It might have been one of my favorite episodes so far in the season.
Oh, wow.
I just think it had so many, underlying themes, and it was just so, well done, and there's so, even when we were talking about it beforehand, you're just like, oh, and this connects to this, and this means this, and, oh, look at that. So I love tonight's episode.
And the little one-liners throughout the show, I spit out my...
She did.
I spit out my water.
She did do that.
when what is it? Kevin said something real funny to the girl that we'll get to that in a bit. But anyway, good one-liners today. Great writing. But let's start off with Q and Emmett.
Yeah.
This is intense, man. We're going down the rabbit hole. But
Yeah. Now, did you think, because I've always felt like Sonny was sort of a father figure, not only to Emmett, but to, the neighborhood in general.
Yeah.
And I think it's interesting. I thought it was cool because, I can think of back in, my hood, who was, kind of the father figure for all of us.
Yeah.
Did you think there's an interesting dynamic between, Sonny versus Q, as far as, what type of, fatherly figures they were?
Well, it's kind of crazy that now it's confirmed that they come from the same family and they come from the same dad, and man, and then they just go complete opposite directions.
Yeah.
I think that, pretty much you nailed it, but that is kind of crazy to watch, the dynamic between the two, and, you need a good guy like Sonny. It's so sad to see him, in the way that he ended up being, and we hope he's still alive, actually.
Fingers
right?
crossed.
Fingers crossed, yeah. Keep Sonny alive. We need good people. No. But yeah, that's what it is. He's the good guy in the neighborhood, and then, the hard worker, and like Q said, he's kind of dogging on him for being that upstanding gentleman. And Q's the opposite. So, yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting how it plays into the whole, how the Black community looks at success now. There's a lot of people who think just nose to the grindstone, work hard,
Yeah.
Pay your dues and go the old fashioned way. And then there's a lot of people who are listen, the system isn't built for us. We're not meant to succeed. So you have to make these opportunities. And so it's very interesting to see how it plays out, because obviously it doesn't play out well for Sonny, and we get the backstory on their dad, and we see he was another hardworking man who it doesn't work out for.
What a statement. What a huge statement for them to talk about the railroads and back in the day when there was unions and you could just work hard and make a decent living and buy a house, and do your thing. Times have changed. And so it is a cultural thing, within the Black community, to feel this pressure of maybe doing it a different way, but it's also systemic and just, the way that things are happening in the United States for, across all lines.
Yeah.
And and the way the economy is going and all this stuff. It's, yeah, man, they get deep with it. That's what I love about this show, but yeah.
There's just so many things that happened in the show that I was just man, Emmys. I need Emmys.
Let's get the Emmys.
We're calling it now. Emmys all day.
You know what? The thing about is back to Q and Sonny. It's interesting because I think Q, even though he's doing different things off the, traditional path, if you will, he still has a sense of, what's the word? He's got a sense of goodness, not a sense of, a sense of duty, maybe?
Yeah. I was going to say, when we were watching the show, I even said it's very hard not to like Q because he still has this sense of community and he still has a sense of, like, looking out for his own, even though, like, at the same time, he's well, it's hard to say because we don't, right now we're just seeing him get everyone in line.
Yeah.
And we don't really get to see what he was like back in the day.
Right.
But right now, it just seems like he's...
Like he was raised by a good guy. Even though he went the wrong way, you still see that I don't know, that richness of being raised by a decent man and decent mom, it sounds like. But for him to kind of recruit Emmett, this scares the hell out of me.
It makes me nervous. Makes me very nervous.
He's seducing this young kid into the wrong lifestyle, and he's so brilliant about the way he's doing it. He's not just like, hey, let's go shoot up some thugs, or I'm not just gonna throw you into the fire so you can be like, no, this isn't for me. He's kind of slowly doing it. Okay, you don't want to give him the money? That's cool. You're still cool, but it's it's troubling. I don't know. What do you think Emmett's gonna do with this situation?
I almost wonder because I still think that Q is Jason's dad.
Yes. Yeah.
And I feel like
there
are just little things he did. There's something he said to Emmett that made me think that like even more so than I already do every week. But he says, like, when you die on your gravestone, it's going to say if you were a good parent and how long you lived. And I feel like although Q does have some wishy-washy, like, morals, I do think there's this sense of, like, responsibility for Emmett, like almost taking Emmett under his wing and like trying to care for him. So I don't think he's intentionally going to lead him astray.
Okay.
But I do think that, like, due to the things that are already rolling in motion, that Emmett's going to be in some hot water.
Damn, you have more faith than I do. He's not going to intentionally lead him to the wrong path. I'm like, he's going to, I don't know, but it's like a tough call.
I want to believe.
Yeah.
And Q. I want to think he's trying to be, I still think he's, the OG. Mm-hmm. But I want to think he's semi-reformed.
Yeah.
You know? I don't think he is going to get more people's hands dirty than need to be. I think he's very precise about how he does things.
Right. And he may not want to be, I don't know if he was sent back to Cuba or but he was probably running from the feds. It seems like that's my conclusion. Yeah. So now he's back and he's going to play it safe. So
Yeah. And also, I mean, obviously his timing is, coming back when Jason's passed.
Right. Ooh.
And I feel like you're right. Like, he's not going to do anything that's going to, like, shed some light on him like that.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think Emmett's going to get into some hot water, but I'm hoping that Emmett doesn't get into hot water because of Q. I mean, like, not because of Q directly. I think it'll be because of the sins of Q previously.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Never leave that behind. It's just gonna come back. That's like karma.
Yeah. What do you think of Tiffany popping up at the end for EJ?
I think that's damn. I think that's horrible. I felt so bad. And he was heartbroken, you know? He's worked so hard to be a good man and to provide for his kid, and he loves that kid. Not that he didn't before, but he was going through it. It was very difficult and it was shocking to him, and now he's like, that's his baby, and now you're gonna come rip it out of his arms. That's messed up. I don't know what her situation is, but it's hard to side with her at this point. Yeah. But again, I'm gonna empathize, and we can't judge these people, but this messed up.
The reason I bring it up because it makes me nervous almost because we're already seeing him get a taste of like the hustle, if you will, and like. He doesn't need something to push him over the edge. He needs EJ to balance him out. And now that we've seen, what happens with his mom, which I'm assuming she lost her job.
I'm assuming
from the response. I feel like, he's really going to have to be the breadwinner. And I feel like he's going to have some legit pressure. And now that EJ's being taken out from under him, as it looks like from the previews.
Yeah.
I'm nervous.
But why can't, maybe Tiffany could just move in. They could be a happy family. They don't have to be together. They could just co-parent and live under the same roof. I don't know. That's an option too, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't seem like that will happen, but that would be a way to make it work in real life. Suck it up.
I would hope. I also think it's interesting how she just instantly gets to take him. And I think that's a lot of time in court, like in court situations or anything like that, the mom often gets the kid, and that's not always...
That's not fair.
That's not always the best choice.
Yeah, that's not fair. Yeah, that's you know, and especially in a neighborhood where unfortunately the a large majority of the fathers are not there. It's not easy for people to automatically give a fair trial, which they should. Yeah, that's messed up. You know.
Yeah. it's a lot, man. I love this show because I just feel like it reflects so much on the real life. There's nothing like that's in this show that's too far-fetched. You know what I'm saying?
Everything is extremely authentic. Everything about this. Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, I want to touch on Brandon. He had a lot going on.
Yeah.
This is crazy. Well, I'll start with this. The whole, situation at work with Luis. Luis, I'm going to say it like that. Luis. My Latino brother selling the tacos, his side hustle. It's brilliant. But, yeah, how amazing that he was just being a really good friend. And then, circumstances led to him quitting. It's kind of crazy that he quit. I'm kind of angry at him for that. How do you feel about it? Because he didn't need to quit. I understand what he's standing for, and he's trying to be, he's trying to have dignity and be a decent man, be a good person, but to quit.
I'm actually not mad at him for quitting, and this is why. I think what makes Brandon a better, employer than chef is Brandon values and understands and has empathy for the workers. So was that the smartest thing for Luis to do? No, but at the end of the day, was it replenished? Was it? Yeah. Yes. And I think that could have been a teaching moment. That could have been a learning moment. Instead, it was a power struggle for Chef. And I think Brandon realized in that moment that if I side with you, if I do this, not only am I betraying a friend, but I'm showing this entire kitchen where I hope to one day lead that I don't care about their struggles and I don't care about, what they have going on.
Do you think, this just popped in my mind, oh my God, do you think, I'm like, this is all connecting. Do you think that Chef knew something was up with him and Sarah and kind of not set him up, but put him in that space? Ooh. You see?
That wouldn't surprise me because last week, even in the preview, when you're watching a show and they do previously on, always pay attention to what they're talking about and what clips because they're always very particular with what clips they're using.
Yes.
Because it's going to play into next episode or the episode you're about to watch. And in this week's, it was Louise talking to him being like, you need to watch out because Sarah, people are talking about you and Sarah. So that would totally make sense if that was it.
Yeah. And, it's kind of crazy. And you know what? Brandon is such, he's one of my favorites. He's such a classy, good soul. He's good people, as we say. He's good people. He could have easily put Sarah on the, kind of threw her under the bus. I mean, of course, he was kind of with it, and it was a shared admiration, if you will. Yeah. Admiration, yeah. Yeah, Drew is not here for that.
Not like Sarah.
But see, that's the thing. He could have threw her under the bus and been like, oh, okay, you guys want to push me in a corner? Well, let's talk about your wife who stuck her tongue down my throat last weekend, And, so, and he didn't. So his character is just, it speaks volume about he's a good, he's just a good guy. But I worry about him. Hopefully him and Jerrica could get back together.
Fingers crossed. I actually am not that worried about him either because there was a mention of the food truck, Luis's brother in the food truck. And I feel like from the previews we see next week and we know that Hannibal, his cousin, has some money and we saw Hannibal and him kind of have a dab it up. I think Hannibal might fund a food truck for Brandon. That's an early prediction, but that's how I feel.
You're really good at this stuff. Every time
Thank
you
you.
say something, I'm like, that is spot on. And then we come back next week and I'm like, it's happening. She said it. It's happening.
I'm a psychic.
You're good with this. Yeah. You belong in the writer's room, girl.
Thank you.
Bow down. That would be great actually, because now they're both fired. So let's just, go together and do this and make good money, man.
Yeah.
It's a great hustle. It's real.
But I do hope about the Jerrica and Brandon thing, and I feel like we're starting to see an open line of communication a little bit.
Yeah.
And I just feel like you just need that little bit.
Let that be a lesson to everyone in relationships. It's so easy to be like, I don't want to hear it. I know what it looks like. It is what it is, but assumptions are the worst.
Yeah.
They really are, because
Absolutely.
it does look like he killed somebody, and it was kind of like what it looks like. But yeah, man, you got to let people speak and at least hear their story. That doesn't mean you have to take people back, but at least give them a chance.
Yeah.
And so I'm so happy that it does look like, we're getting there.
What kind of frustrates me about Jerrica, and I don't know if it's just me, is when there is the obvious difference between social classes. And I don't know about you, but I grew up on Brandon's side. I was not a Jerrica. I was a Brandon.
Me too.
And I had dated people who were Jerricas, and there's a difference with how you handle things or how you're raised, because when you grow up on the Brandon side, you're raised to survive. You're not raised to necessarily always think of the most prim and proper way to do things.
Yeah, that's true.
And so I get frustrated with Jerrica because I feel like when you go into these relationships, that there's a certain difference.
Yeah.
Between how you think and how I think.
Wow.
And I feel like you should, if you're going into that, if you're so willing to start that relationship, you need to have some empathy and understand and be willing to listen, because there are things that you wouldn't necessarily do, but because you've never been put in that situation, you've never had to decide.
Yeah. You gotta meet each other halfway,
Yeah.
and you gotta, it's just it's privilege, you gotta move beyond. Just because something doesn't affect you doesn't mean, that other people aren't dealing with this. And you, like you said, you gotta empathize. But yeah, she is privileged, and that does come off. And again, that's the great writing, because that's something that she needs to work on. It's not something that she actively does. She's not even aware of it.
Yeah.
And so until she can move beyond that, yeah, they're gonna have that dynamic. But I don't know. I have hope for them. They belong together.
Yeah, I love them.
Love story.
I want them to work out so bad.
Yeah.
I love that she's helping sell the house.
See, that's how she wants back in. No girl's gonna go and want to run into her ex-boyfriend. If you hate somebody, you're like, I don't want to see him. I don't want nothing to do with him,
Yeah, and you can tell that even his mom is kind of like, y'all need to work it out, because before she wasn't necessarily super Team Jerrica, but now she's like, I'll let y'all talk. And I'm like, She's all married and happy now, so she's just trying to make everyone else happy.
Yeah, that's funny. I'm married now. I vote for love.
We're good.
Yeah, all things are forgiven. Let's talk about, we talked about it earlier, but I want to get a little into Jada.
Oh,
right? Because
my heart.
he was like, they have cameras. Like, oh, wait, they have, how often are you taking medicine from the medicine cabinet or whatever they call it? Sorry, I'm not very nurse-like. But yeah, that makes me feel, if I wanted to assume the worst, that she has a pill problem.
Well,
or no?
It's from when Ronnie was close to death, and Ethel, who Jada is Ethel's nurse, was Ethel begged her to help, and so Jada went and got the supplies needed to go save Ronnie's life.
Yeah.
And it just sucks because it's just another case of Ronnie being Ronnie, no real thought of how his actions affect everyone else. And it's this consistent, domino effect where, everyone who seems to help him gets burned.
Oh, wow.
Even people who aren't that close to him, And it's just
like a virus.
It's just, so frustrating because, I feel for her and, my mom's a nurse, and I know, if something like that happens, you're done for, with everyone.
Yeah.
You can get your, nursing license revoked and all of that.
It's a big deal that she did that.
Yeah.
That's really nice. Yeah. I love
Ugh.
that. But then, she put a lot on the line, but I really thought that it showed how people watch out for each other in those communities, and it really, like, made me feel happy. You know, that there's a lot of love, you know, in those communities. And yeah, I appreciate that, because other places aren't necessarily like that. I don't think middle class people, you know, we're just not hating on middle class people or upper class people, but, you know, in certain neighborhoods, people tend to mind their own, and they don't want to talk to their neighbors. They actually avoid their neighbors, you know, and they avoid getting in close conversations and proximities, and they have their own problems, and it is what it is. But to step out and really do that was cool.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't know. I kind of think she does take pills. So because she took one, instead of giving it to Ronnie, she took it herself. Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah.
That's what made me think of that.
Well, I think those were just, like,
was
aspirins
painkiller.
or something. I feel like they were, like, really high-end Tylenols or something. I don't think they were, like...
Oh, really?
I feel like I remember her giving him something and being... And if you guys remember in the chat, you know, let us know. But I feel like I remember it being...
I think it was like a big painkiller.
Oh.
Because she was like, what'd she say? She said, oh, you're in pain. He's like, oh, I need something for the pain. She's like what? Like one of these? And he's like, oh, yes. And she swallowed it.
Oh.
So
I hope that's not an issue.
I know.
I also think it's interesting that this is going on in an episode where we do focus so much on, you know, staples in the community, like Sunny and, you know, Q. Like, it focuses so much on, like, black men in the community.
Yeah.
And I think by her kind of having this, like, this happen to her, it kind of shows how often black women are willing to put everything on the line to take care of the people around them, and oftentimes aren't, you know, left off better than they were before.
Yeah, a lot of sacrifices they make, you know, and that's the role of a strong woman. And Jada is the perfect example of such a strong female filling both roles and raising a good kid. Emmett is despite where he might, you know, dabble into, he's like a decent human being.
Yeah.
And that's because of the mom.
Absolutely.
You know. Okay. Traci, what do we think about Traci?
Y'all know I love Traci.
She loves Traci.
I really do. And I'm not just saying that because I talk to her on Twitter all the time. I legitimately do love the character of Traci because I feel like she's just real, you know?
Yeah.
And watching her walk into the grieving group and, like, just be so sympathetic and, like, whatnot to the other mom. Like, she came there to seek something.
Sure.
And for her to, you know, for them to kind of, like, welcome her like that, where they're like, oh, your son had, you know, a mural and your son had this and this. Like, my son didn't get any of that. And she's just like, you're right. Like, it sucks.
Yeah.
And, like, she's comforting them even though she came to be kind of comforted.
Yeah.
I think speaks a lot to who she is as a person.
She's a little complicated for me. I don't know how I feel because she's very, like, she seems all or nothing. Like, she's willing to see your like, when she walked in, she was, like, giving. She was open. But then, I don't know why I like Ronnie. He's just, like, the lovable loser. But she's very, like mean to him. Not mean to him, but she's very dismissive of him. And I feel like she could give him a little more empathy, but she's not interested. So she's interesting. Yeah, that character's complex right now for me. I can't figure her out.
I feel like with the Ronnie situation, it's just, like, I can't even fathom what losing a son is like. The only thing I can think of is, like, when my dog died, and I literally thought it was the end of the world.
Aww.
So I can't imagine, and I was, like, in high school. It was, like, forever ago. But I, like, get sad when I think about it. I can imagine
Imagine
it
that
being,
times a million.
Yeah, being your son. And so
Times a
to
million.
have someone like Ronnie who is almost like, I don't think he's intentionally trying to, like, seize the moment and get back together with her, but he's almost like consistently centering himself and her grief.
Okay.
And, like, and then for him to only complicate the situation by killing Coogie, it's like, I'm sitting here trying, I don't know how to process this. I don't know how to grieve my son. And here you are causing all these damn problems and making it more complicated for me. I would probably react the same way she is.
This is so interesting because you're seeing it from her end and I'm seeing it from Ronnie's end. And I'm just like, Ronnie was his dad. I mean, maybe not biologically, but that was his son too. So I feel like not that Traci owes him something. She doesn't owe him anything, but there's a courtesy that's being lost here. So that's where I'm coming from.
Well, I also think, because she even kind of mentions it in this, that, like, for the last couple of years, like, him and Ronnie, like, weren't, like, Jason and Ronnie weren't a thing. And I think
You're right. Yeah.
I think I kind of sympathize with her because I think of how, I have my birth dad and I have my stepdad. And my stepdad and I had, like, a falling out while I was in high school. And there was a couple years he wasn't around at all. And it's almost like, am I supposed to feel some type of way? Because, like, if you were what you're saying you were, you would have been here from, you know, point A to point B.
That's true.
So it's, like, almost like you want to claim the title, but
you don't want to do the work.
But you didn't do the work.
Or
and
you
now
didn't do the work.
now that he's gone, now is when you want to do. What's the phrase? Don't bring me roses when I'm dead, or something like that. It's like my grandma says it all the time.
This is very dramatic.
Yeah, like my grandma says it all the time. You know, like, appreciate me when I'm here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Don't try. Like, why are you trying to make up for it after I'm gone?
Yeah, and Traci did say that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I like her fire. She is truthful.
Yeah.
You know,
She's strong.
She's strong. All these women are strong characters. They really are. They're great. Okay, Ronnie. Speaking of Ronnie and
Tragic.
I know, we don't like when you say Ronnie. I'm like, should I laugh? Should I cry?
It's just like every scene,
Ronnie.
he's just like, it's like one of those, I don't know if they have them here, but we have these things back home called zombie walks. And it's like everyone dresses like a zombie, and then, like, you bar hop for like a mile. And watching Ronnie get anywhere is watching that.
Like,
I'm like, what are you?
And then he's bleeding, and then he's dead, and then he's awake again. You're right. He's a
Like,
zombie.
what is happening?
And he was, yeah, you're right. And he was down again at the drug dealer's
I'm
house.
like, he's like a cockroach. He's just not
He's
gonna
never
die.
gonna die. Oh man, this is zombie. That's the spinoff, the zombie episode. Oh man, and it's just Ronnie. Oh, so yeah. Speaking of the zombie, no, with Cruz. So he kind of threatens him, right? Cruz is such a good guy. I like seeing. I appreciate him trying to speak up and do the right thing. I think it's awful that he's got the system working against him, you know, as a lot of cops do sometimes, because it's easier to just, not that the other people are corrupt or they're bad, but, you know, it's a system. It's systemic.
Yeah, it's easy to make things black and white, and most situations are not at all.
Yeah, and you want to put people away, and you want to close the case quick, so it's just very easy to look the other way. But he's trying to do the right thing, and he threatened Ronnie. It's just crazy because he knows he did it, but he can't really put him away for it. So that's an interesting dynamic. I don't know. How do you feel about that?
The Ronnie and
Cruz.
The Ronnie and Cruz relationship reminds me kind of it kind of, not to get, I know some of our viewers stick with me with the DC comics, but not to get comic-y, but it kind of reminds me of like the Suicide Squad and like Amanda Waller type relationship, where it's like, you guys did some messed up stuff and we should be handling that, but right now we need you to go handle the situation for us.
Okay.
And like, as a reward, we're going to kind of give you like a head start before we come after you. And I feel like that's how it is with Cruz and Ronnie. Like,
okay.
Cruz, I think, kind of realizes he needs Ronnie to still get some pieces of the puzzle together. And so he's like, I'm going to have to come collect you eventually.
But in the meantime.
But right now I need you. And so, like, this is, like, you need to do it my way. This is my favor to you. I will get justice for Jason.
Yeah.
But you're going to have to cooperate with me, and you're going to have to understand eventually I'm going to have to come get you.
Yeah, and speaking of getting people, I really hope this Wallace guy, this dirty cop. Yeah, we didn't even want to say his name for a long time. We were just like, dirty cop.
I refuse to learn his name for the longest time.
He doesn't deserve a name. Bad cop. But yeah, so we're kind of getting deeper into the storyline where Cruz goes to the office of, I guess, a higher up, and then we see a picture of Wallace and the higher up, like all smiling, playing baseball together. So now you're like, oh, okay, maybe he's in on it, and that's why he doesn't really care about this 911 call, but our 911 call could solve the case.
Yeah.
Do you feel the same way?
I don't know if the guy is like, I don't think the guy is like necessarily dirty like Wallace.
Yeah.
I think this kind of comes into the whole issue with like police that like I think a lot of people are having now is like, you may not necessarily be doing anything wrong, but you know someone's doing something that's not necessarily correct. And even if you don't know the fullness of it, you're still kind of like turning a blind eye to it, which makes you
an accessory.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I always compare it to this, and it's not even to be like super dramatic, but in the court of law, if someone murders someone and you were like the person driving the car and you didn't ask any questions, but you just did it anyway, you're now an accessory. Plain simple, that's it. So when you do things like this, like you have to kind of think of it like that. Like, no, I didn't necessarily do it, but I enabled it to happen.
Yeah, and that's personal responsibility because you're like a decent person and I'm a decent person. We could sit here and think, damn, we have a responsibility. But I don't know. This guy doesn't seem like he's viewing it the same way.
Yeah, and he may not even think like it's a big deal for him to like erase this 911 call. He may not know the severity of it.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day,
it matters.
It matters. The smallest choices still can have the biggest effects.
Everything matters. That's the thing about the show. Everything matters, and everything is not for nothing. We were just saying that, like, no, even episodes that aren't necessarily the most dramatic or the most revealing, they have so much they have so much substance here and there, little sprinkles of substance throughout. So, okay. Trice and Reggie.
Ugh. Goodness gracious.
I thought he was going to die.
First of all, I was glad to see that Reggie was alive because I think last week I said I was scared that one guy was Reggie, and I was like, no, he's cute, don't kill him yet. I know he's bad. I know, but
he's a menace.
He's bad, but
but I got you.
But I'm glad to see that he is like alive, and what I thought was interesting between the thing that I thought was more interesting than anything, actually there are two things. Was when Trice was beating him down, Reggie didn't move. He took it.
Yeah.
And I think that's so interesting to how, like, gang life works. Is
hierarchy.
It's like, because when you look at them face to face, I feel like Reg could take Trice.
Yeah.
Like, physically. But the fact that he literally just stood there, arms to his side, and just took it is so crazy to me because I'm like, that's just, like, the dynamic of how it works.
Yeah. Well, I think he thought he was gonna die.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, he had to put the gun down, and like you said, he could have done a number of things, but he was like, all right, you're the boss. You tell me. I'm gonna put the gun down, and that could mean that I'm gonna die, but that is pretty crazy that he's going to do that.
Yeah, he just kind of like, and that the threat was Jake, of all people, was the threat.
Oh, little Jake.
Like, that, my guy will go rip your brother's arms off and beat him to death.
Why which I was like, after the kids?
Which I was like,
damn,
he is a baby. Do not do that.
Leave the kids alone.
Let the kids thrive.
Let the kids be kids, damn it.
Leave them alone.
Yeah.
Listen, every time anything like that happens, I instantly, like, my heart drops because I'm like, if y'all touch one of these kids, we better see them make it to high school. Yeah, we better see them graduate.
Can I have a prom before?
Yeah. I want to see these kids grow up on the show. Y'all better not take any of them. There are a couple of times that Papa said stuff, and I was like, if y'all kill Papa this episode,
I'm done.
I will riot.
I think they know that.
Yeah, I think they know.
We would not kill the children.
I think they know that.
They cannot handle this.
Hands will be found. But no, I thought it was interesting that Jake was mentioned more than once, because even Reggie was like, yo, like, I gotta take care of my brother.
Yeah.
And I think, like, it kind of goes back to what I said a couple weeks ago. I think Reggie legitimately does care about Jake.
Oh, yeah.
I think in his mind, he's just like, this is how it goes, and we don't really have an option, so I'm going to put you in my circle, build you up now, so that by the time you're, like, my age, you're good.
You can fend for yourself.
Yeah.
And it's kind of crazy, but in a way that is a way to show love or protection, to suck your brother into, like, the most horrible lifestyle. and just ruining his future. But when that's all you know, and like you said earlier, it's survival mode, you don't really see it as a bad thing. You just see it as like, I'm going to make my little brother a man.
Yeah.
And he's going to be able to deal with life, and he's going to be, you know, carrying guns at 12. But
how crazy was it, the scene with Q walking in the money and the gift cards and the Rice Krispies?
Okay.
I feel like the Rice Krispies was like a sprinkle of disrespect. Like, it was just like all those guns, all that work you went through. Yeah. You got some Chili's gift cards, some Rice Krispies, and a couple hundreds.
Yeah, I don't know. It looked like 1,000. It looks like a lot of money.
Yeah, but like still, I mean, I imagine it was worth so much more.
Yeah.
I was like, the Rice Krispies was just what it really killed me.
You're like, here, kid, put it in your lunchbox.
Yeah, it's even like on my notes in all caps, because like when it happened, I was like, yo.
Yeah, you're just a kid. I'm the boss. Eat your snacks.
Exactly. That's exactly what it was. Just like, have your snacks.
Have your snacks, little boy.
I'm gonna like air you out to dry in front of your whole barbershop.
Yeah.
And then just walk. Like, he didn't look phased. He just strolled on out.
And that's the rudest thing. That's how you do it. When you can like make a hardcore tough guy, you know, look bad in front of his homies, in front of his. That's when you real got him. You got him by the, you know.
Yeah, but I guess we saw how that played out because.
Yeah.
Sonny.
Oh man.
Sonny. I can't tell if he's dead or not. I
really hope not.
I think he might be. I really, really, really hope not. Just because I'm like.
You want to just? I'm gonna go on a crazy little side
go down it. I'm here for it.
Sonny's not dead, and he somehow, like, when they're busy fighting, gets up, finds a gun, and shoots Reggie.
You think we're going to lose Reggie?
I'd rather lose Reggie than Sonny.
You're right. I agree.
Yeah.
But I worry about if we lose Reggie, because then I feel like that's going to be the ticker for Jake. The thing that pushes Jake in further.
Damn, we just can't
win.
Like,
we can't. No, we really can't. Like, we can't be happy on this show.
Win. Yeah. Speaking of the kids, hello. Is this like the moment you've been waiting for? Your little baby.
I feel like legit a mother of 3. I just like every time they do anything, I feel like a proud black mom. Like, I feel like my mom watching me do legitimately anything, because like when they were doing the little play, I was like,
yeah. And his little green little tights.
Oh my gosh,
so cute. He's sassy, but he looks cute, and he looks like a kid, and it's so fun to watch them being kids.
Yeah, I love the Kevin and Keisha. Is that his sister's name?
Yeah, Keisha.
The interaction they had, I love, because I feel like, especially in well, I mean, they have 2 mothers, so they're, you know, they have a double parent home.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of the homes growing up that didn't have fathers and stuff, like,
yeah,
moms were there for a lot of things, but big sisters or big brothers were also there.
Where else are you gonna get your love advice, girl?
Yeah, I like it was so funny, because it just reminded me of, you know, like my little brothers, like me catching them do that kind of stuff and being like, let me help you, like. Like, I remember catching my little brother trying to shave, and I was like, okay, like, stop, you're gonna cut your face off, like.
And don't ever tell a girl, I like the shape of your
head, honey.
I went.
That's what you spit out. That's what you spit out. That's right.
I could not handle that.
That
was the funniest slide I've heard in a long time.
I just love. And I say this, I feel like every time we get these moments, but I love any moment where we just get to see them be kids for just 5 minutes, where there's no guns and there's no, I mean, there was a gun.
Even then, yeah.
Yeah, but we just see them get to have kid reactions to things and be nervous about kid things.
Yes,
and just like,
and have a first kiss and try to make the girl jealous, you know, and get advice from your guy friends. And
I felt so bad for little Maisha, who, like, I know we all were just like, girl, what are you doing a couple weeks ago? But now, like, now that we see her backstory and we see this little friendship with her and Kevin.
Yeah.
It just really, like, it hurt my heart, because I was that tubby little black girl
Aww.
who none of the boys liked, and I feel for you, girl.
Aw.
You'll get it together eventually.
Yeah, she's good, and they're gonna, and like, yeah, that relationship with her and Kevin, that's cute, because that could have gone like, I never want to see you again, I hate you, but it's like they're tied together, you know, they're gonna see each other through Andrea, you know, through school, so you just, it's sweet that they're really cool with each other.
Yeah, I love their little friendship. I hope it's something we get to see like grow.
Yeah.
From season
Hopefully it won't cause like friction though. I don't want the girls fighting over Kevin or anything weird like that.
Yeah, he's short, you guys. Like, don't worry about him. Don't worry about it.
It's good. It's good.
I thought the what did you think of the relationship between Jake and then the other little boy Corey, whose brother was in the opposite?
Oh wow, that was that spoke volumes about, you know, the lifestyle and how real it is and how common it is for these kids to just follow, you know, the older siblings. And a lot of times, you know, the parents are working 2 jobs. It's not that the parents aren't good parents. They're literally just trying to survive, and they're working 2 jobs. They're doing what they can to provide for their family, but they're simply not there because the circumstances don't allow.
Yeah.
And so, you know, so big brother goes to the gang and then little brother joins. But, that was a big statement.
Yeah, because I also feel like it's one of those things where, like, the burden of whatever trickles down through the generations. Like, I remember being in a high school that, you know, was dominated by 2 different groups, and you know, growing up with kids who were best friends, and then we get to high school and it's time to pick, and they have to go with so-and-so, and it's like,
damn,
there's no bad blood there, but you just have to go your separate ways all of a sudden, you know?
Okay.
And I just feel like it was just such a real, it's just another very real, very relatable take. Like, they even said, like, we've always been cool with Corey, like, what's the situation?
Not
and he's just like, yeah, not anymore.
He's
like,
on that block and I'm on this block. Damn.
Yeah.
See, I missed that. You're good. I was just thinking about how they get sucked into the lifestyle, but yeah, you're right. It's deeper than that. They're enemies now. Now it's like I can't even talk to you, and that's crazy how you go from sharing candies and riding bikes together and being at the roller rink to like all of a sudden being enemies with guns.
Yeah.
That's so it's such a natural thing, but it's kind of crazy to see.
Yeah.
When they're 12 years old.
I also hate that Jake has a gun, and every time
that's crazy,
it comes up, it makes me so nervous because I just like, kids have no one, like, in my opinion, no one has business with guns, but children especially.
Yeah.
And I feel like now more than ever, we all are discussing that children especially have no place with guns, and so it just makes me so incredibly nervous every time there's any type of situation.
It's kind of crazy though, because you see that you actually, as a kid in that situation, you might need a gun at some point, as Kevin did.
Yeah.
So it's weird because it's, you know, easy for us to be like, no, don't give them guns, but I don't know, they might need it.
Yeah.
It might be an actual, you know, lifesaver, if you will. I don't know.
Rough.
That's what a tough neighborhood, but
yeah,
it's life.
That is the way the cookie crumbles, unfortunately. What are your predictions for next week?
Ooh, well, if it were up to me.
Your AFTERBUZZ TV prediction.
I was like hesitating because I was waiting for it.
There it is. Well, predictions or wantings? No. I really hope that Sonny is actually still alive. That'd be great. My prediction is that he, I don't know, does something to help the situation. But it's hard to predict because the show is unpredictable up until this point. So that's good for the shy.
Yeah.
Means they're doing it right. Yeah.
Right.
You're unpredictable. That's real good. I don't know. Honestly, it's tough. I just I don't know. It's hard. It's tough to predict.
I think Brandon quitting is going to be a great thing. I think we're finally, because I think he has been kind of being comfortable in the restaurant, and I think this I do think he's going to get a food truck. I think him and Hannibal, if we saw anything from the previews, which their previews never tell us anything.
That's why.
Yeah.
I'm like,
you just see like,
I don't know.
like you just see like quick little clips that say absolutely nothing, but it's just enough for me as a speculator to be like,
You're good at this, though.
I know what that means. But no,
You're
I think Hannibal and Brandon are going to go into business together somehow, with the food truck thing.
Yeah.
I think I'm getting really nervous about Jake, and I think his friends are too, and so I'm.
Well, the thing is, they lost 3, right? They lost 3. Trice, Reggie. Well, both of them. They lost 3 people, so now there's a spot to be filled.
Yeah.
Ugh.
So I think that's gonna happen, and
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like Ronnie is still gonna be limping around next week, so we'll see.
My prediction is that Ronnie is still alive.
Listen.
That's a safe prediction. Oh, man. He cracks me up. But anyway, on that note, long live Ronnie. I'm Veronica Barriga. You guys can catch me on social media at Veronica B Online. Also, check out my website, veronicabonline.com.
Woo! And I'm Drew Jones. You can follow me on all the things at OKDrewJ.
Yeah.
We will see you guys next week.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.